Man, you know I love to see a beard crash and burn, OP. Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. Today we're diving into r/neckbeard tales of neckbeard r/ReddX reads. You know what it is. It's another one of those neckbeard stories that we do, and it is indeed Hulkbeard part number 4. If you've missed the previous 2 videos on Hulkbeard, parts number 1 and 2 are in the first video. Part number 3 is in the second video because it's a little bit beefier. This one, not as beefy as part number 3, but all that is okay. I ain't gonna sweat it too much. We're just gonna, do what we do. Revel in some cringe. I'm quite looking forward to Hulkbeard continuing his shenanigans, trying to swoop OP's m'ladies. Part number 3 was mostly like, some tabletop stuff, which is good, but I really want that real life Neckbeard cringe. I want to see him in the wild interacting with other normal folk, or semi-normal folk. I don't know. Anyways, let's get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way, then we'll see what we got here as we dive right into some Neckbeard Stories cringe. Hulkbeard, Chapter 4. Much Ado About Clowns. Oh no, Captain Clown Show, why? Greetings once again, fellow beardologists. In our last chapter, I treated you all to Hulkbeard's unique brand of tabletop gaming. Yes, indeed. And all that took place alongside my first ever attempt at growing a spine. Hey, just want to say, proud of you. It was a pretty momentous occasion for me. After all, you always remember your first. Yeah, unfortunately. I won't even state what that's in reference to, but the real ones know. For a short time, after Hulkbeard's whale-sized rage quit, there was a modicum of relative peace. I thought, foolishly, that with him no longer being a part of the D&D group, maybe things would start to calm down. Little did I know that by standing up to Hulkbeard, I had somehow planted a seed of resentment deep in his beardy heart, a festering rot which would eventually poison every single one of his relationships. You didn't do that. He did that. That seed was there since fucking day one, okay? You might have watered it a little bit. You might have helped it to sprout somewhat, but I guarantee that that seed has been there for a long, long time. Without even realizing it, I had set Hulkbeard along the path to his own destruction. Again, he did all of this. But as the saying goes, things are always darkest before the dawn. If you haven't already, I'd recommend checking out ReddX's phenomenal readings before going any further. Chapter 1 and 2 and Chapter 3, those links in the description as I mentioned. Phenomenal? Yeah, maybe. Boop, 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 boop. Phenomena. Do, 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 do. Anyways, before we get into the story, let's check out that cast list. Yo. Captain Clown Show, an awkward and insecure English major with little in the way of social skills or emotional intelligence. 22, going on 23, and with a backbone that's a bit more like Play-Doh than pudding. That's right, it's toughening up just a little bit, but they are both equally delicious. Y'all ever eat Play-Doh? It's like a salty treat. I haven't eaten it for a long time, but I'm thinking about it now. Unfortunately, also much angrier than at the beginning of the story, Hulkbeard's rage was like some slow, insidious disease. And before I even realized, it had infected me. It's not a disease, it's not anger, it's righteous fury. I'm all about righteous fury. Hold on to that, it makes us human. Broken Ace is a false friend from high school who effectively only kept people around so that he could bully them. My relationship with him was, unfortunately, a formative experience. Hulkbeard, of course, our not-so-beloved antagonist, a hefty boy with enough rage to fill his swarthy frame several times over. By this point, his fuse was growing progressively shorter, and he was losing his temper at the smallest of slights. I didn't even realize it was possible for his fuse to get any shorter. How's this gonna go, dude? He's like a bottle of nitroglycerin. You can't even fart around him or it's just gonna fucking explode. The Greek is a friend from our campus anime club, a soft-spoken, bespectacled fellow for whom confrontation was anathema, occasionally made an exception for Hulkbeard, as we all should. Put that boy in his place. Monksbane, a talented artist with the love of horror games, comic books, and tabletop games. Omega-level beard bait, yet somehow never subjected to Hulkbeard's affections. I think he might have been scared of her. Good. Stay away. Thespian, a fast-talking actor with a few slightly beardy tendencies of his own. I'll go over those in more detail at a later date. Like Monksbane, often tried to act as a voice of reason and a counter to Hulkbeard's manipulations. And the last one is Swolman, Hulkbeard's only other friend. A quiet, reserved slab of muscle who was, as I would later learn, already beyond done with Hulkbeard. Well, good for Swolman, man. I'm looking forward to hearing all about the falling out. The aftermath of the whale drop. Things were strained between Hulkbeard and I for a week or two after his rage quit, though he was still in one of my games, one which ran much less frequently. His decision to leave the other, and the manner in which he did so, left a really bad taste in my mouth. Unsurprisingly, with Hulkbeard's departure, Swolman had little reason to keep attending. I just don't think D&D is my thing, he'd told me, after bearing silent witness to Hulkbeard's rage quit. It's nothing on you, I just find it kind of boring. Yeah, D&D ain't for everyone. My wife finds it boring as shit. She's like, you guys sat there and played pretend for 4 hours? I'm like, yep. You don't need to understand as long as I get to do it. That's fine. I'd be lying if I said that that statement didn't sting. Although objectively I knew Swolman was never all that engaged to begin with, it still hurt to lose 2 players in a single day. I couldn't help but wonder, perhaps, if Hulkbeard was right. Was I a shitty DM? Mercifully, that feeling did not last long. We quickly replaced Hulkbeard and Swolman with 2 other players, and the session we had after his rage quit was one of the best in months. Everyone enjoyed themselves, myself most of all. Yeah, throw that self-doubt out the window. You can't please all the people all the time, you know? There's certain people that are like, why do you talk so much in the middle of stories? I'm like, I don't know. It's fun, I like it. There's plenty of text-to-speech channels if you don't like it. Am I a shitty YouTuber? Yeah, probably. But I'll still try to win as many people as I can. There was no second guessing. There were no complaints about how I ran this game, no arguments about the rules or attempts at metagaming. We simply played. Yes, I love to play. Once I was done being childish and upset that my best friend no longer wanted to be a part of my dice-rolling fun times, things improved with Hulkbeard too. At least, I thought that they did. Apparently, neckbeards really don't like it when someone stands up to them, especially someone that they had chosen to be their doormat. That's right, he's gonna give you that one last attempt to put you back under his feet, and you gotta be stronger than ever, OP. I believe in you. While he was still his usual self during our hangouts, I later discovered that he would complain about me constantly to anyone who would listen. The beard strikes back. Oh my god, neckbeard revenge! You knew this was coming. Beards are some of the most fucking vengeful people on the planet. They have to defend their ego. My DMing was evidently only the tip of the iceberg for Hulkbeard. I very soon became his favorite topic of conversation with our mutual acquaintances. Specifically, the myriad ways that I had pissed him off.
I constantly made fun of all my friends, and I didn't know how to control my temper. I was an emotional, weepy mess who constantly sabotaged my own relationships and never learned from my mistakes. I did this irritating thing, and I said this aggravating thing.
Yeah, you get the idea. Backbiting, a neckbeard specialty indeed. To be fair to Hulkbeard, most of these statements weren't inaccurate. I don't doubt that it was frustrating to watch my ham-fisted attempts at dating. As mentioned in Chapter 2, I had somewhat of a pattern. I would find someone that I was interested in, I'd manage to charm my way into their good graces, and eventually I would tear the new relationship to shreds in an outright fucking panic. Yeah, live and learn. That's about how it goes. And then I would do it all again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Somehow, it never occurred to me to just fucking seek therapy. I don't necessarily know if therapy is needed for this issue specifically. It seems kind of like the woes of starting to date, you know? I do think therapy can help everyone, and it probably would assist in some ways in this situation, but to me it sounds just kind of like the growing pains and learning how to date and be in a mutual relationship, you know what I mean? Or maybe I'm completely wrong and nobody else has experienced all this, and I actually needed therapy myself when I started dating, but I leave it up to the comments to let me know. My first time with Hulkbeard was also making me a much angrier person. Although I've always had a low threshold for frustration, untreated ADHD tends to have that effect, somehow Hulkbeard just amplified it. He was like some sort of rage wizard. Rage wizard. Weaving spells that devoured all reason and sense. That would be such a cool class. You just like make everything go berserk. God damn, I want to see a rage wizard now. I'd also cop to the fact that I was in many ways a bad friend, and not just to Hulkbeard. I became so caught up in my own insecurity that I eventually began pretending that I was simply better than everyone. Save at least for my romantic partners, of course. To those poor souls, I was instead the human equivalent of cling wrap, and so afraid to offend that I wouldn't even express my own opinion. Oh man, you know that ain't gonna last long. I would be super annoyed by that. I definitely need my space, and I definitely need somebody who will disagree with me. I think OP should just be glad that he didn't find someone to like nurture that into a codependency, because that would have been like the real road to bearddom, you know what I mean? Instead, he looks back, he sees it, he's like, yeah, that was pretty shit. And I gotta respect that. There were also a few people with whom I felt comfortable enough to drop the mask, most notably Monksbane and Thespian, but most of the time, I put on airs. I was, to be blunt, an egotistical asshole, wrapped around a core of extreme self-doubt. Yeah, I feel kind of called out there, I'm not gonna lie. But I think acknowledging it cuts the severity of all that in half, right? Maybe? Looking back now, I've realized that this particular behavior did not, in fact, have its roots in Hulkbeard. It went far deeper than that, all the way back to my childhood. Yeah, for both of you guys, this started way before. It's just now you're together in kind of a toxic mix, a little baking soda and vinegar action, bubbling up and whatnot. I could have told you that. One person cannot 100% change another person. That's just impossible. Anyways, the ace and the fanboy. I doubt you'd be surprised to hear that growing up, I had very few friends. I don't say this with any sort of bitterness, mind you. I don't blame people for avoiding me back then. I had the emotional and social intelligence of a crouton. Yes, that's lower than a pine cone. Very much so. I'm unaware of this scale. I would like to consult it at some point in the future to see if I'm above or below the pine cone. At least part of the reason, I suspect, was tied to my home life. And here is where I'll need to ask for your patience, readers and listeners. Writing about this even decades later is still painful, so please forgive me if I ramble just a little bit. My mother had a rare disorder known as muscular dystrophy. I don't know if it was directly tied to the disease or the result of some other comorbidity, but she was told by the doctors that she was functionally infertile. In spite of how much she wanted a child, it would never happen. Her response? Fuck you! Watch me! Your mom's got some spunk, I'll tell you that. And that spunk turned into OP. No, I'm just kidding. I definitely like the fight in her, you know? Respect. As she would later tell me, the first thing that she did after my birth was have me tested. Much to her relief, I did not bear the genes responsible for the disease. The illness, she said, would die with her. I still remember the way she smiled when she said it. She's a cool lady, honestly. 2 sentences, I'm already like, fuck, she's awesome. For most of my childhood, I had no idea that my mother suffered from this chronic illness. Now, imagine that you're 6 years old, and as all 6-year-olds are wont to do, you fail to clean up your things. Your mother, not realizing that you've left a toy on the floor, steps on it, falls, and breaks her leg. She is then confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Goddamn. You blame yourself for a lot of stuff, though, OP. How can you feel responsible for something that happened when you were 6 years old? Goddamn, kids leave stuff on the floor all the time. Take one walk around my house. There's shit everywhere. Luckily, I'm big enough that if I step on it, usually it breaks. I don't fall down, I just break the toy. That's fine, lesson learned. I mean, it's super rough that she broke her leg and stuff, but come on, man, it's just an accident, you know? Accidents do happen. Anyways, let's see where we're going with this. I now know that this was inevitable, but back then I was convinced that I had crippled my own mother. Of course, I never voiced this to either of my parents. Had I done so, they of course would have immediately shut that notion down. But yeah, 6-year-olds don't understand, really. So with all that weighing on my conscience, I grew up with a disabled mother and a socially inept father who spent the majority of his time working to support the two of us. Socially inept father, that's me. I suspect there was another reason that he worked so frequently beyond supporting us as well. Perhaps it was his way of coping with the fact that the love of his life was now wasting away before his eyes, and there was nothing he could do about it. Oh, fuck, dude, that is heavy. I can hardly even imagine that thought. Like, my wife is so full of life. If I saw her like this, yeah, it would be too hard. It's too hard to even think about. Jesus Christ, man. Either way, that sort of environment isn't all that conducive to a child's healthy social life. And so it was that any friend that I'd met, I would hold on to for dear life. Broken Ace was one such friend. At the time, I thought he was everything that I was not. He was confident, attractive, and charismatic. He was good at almost anything that he set his mind to doing, or at the very least, he was better at those things than I was. The truth was that Broken Ace surrounded himself with people like me, social rejects that he knew would fawn over him. So long as we knew our place, he'd be perfectly pleasant. But the moment one of us attempted to rise above our station, he wasted no time knocking us back down, usually through verbal abuse framed as a good-natured ribbing. I mean, there's a fine line between abuse and ribbing. And a roast. I think roast is above ribbing, but below abuse. Ribbing is just like, you know, don't make it too personal. Roasts and abuse is about the line where I start to go, ooh, bad vibes. Can't do that. It didn't occur to me until much later that this was not how a true friend behaved. Instead, I emulated him, at least to some extent. I constantly mocked my friends because I kinda thought that that was just what one is supposed to do. So why have I told you all of this exactly? Perhaps in the hopes that it would provide some insight into how and why I turned out the way that I did, for myself as much as you. I want to be clear, however, that this is not an attempt to drum up sympathy, nor am I trying to excuse how I acted. All behavior has a source, and even the vilest of abusers often have a tragic backstory. And that's true with most of the beards on this channel. They are deserving of redemption, except for a very select few, and I think you know who I'm talking about. Wheezy Beard, Casino Beard, Writer Beard. However, despite this tragic historical backstory, and even if they are someday redeemed, that does not erase the very real harm that they cause. Just as my childhood does not change the fact that at the end of the day, Hulkbeard is not the only villain in this saga. I had my own part to play. I could have practiced more introspection. I could have sought therapy. I could have recognized people like Broken Ace and Hulkbeard for what they were. But I chose not to. Yeah, I don't think any of that makes you a villain though, OP. At 22, I mean, I was not prepared to face down my demons either. You know what I mean? I don't expect that you knew that you needed therapy at this time. I don't expect that you could have seen how Broken Ace and Hulkbeard really were. You know, hindsight is 2020. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. Anyways, at any rate, we've spent enough time in the incredibly distant past. It's time to shift back to the slightly less incredibly distant past. To the disintegration of Hulkbeard's friendship with Swolman. He was the first to abandon the beard, but he would not be the last. That's right, everybody off. Fucking sinking ship over here. So long, and thanks for the gains. By virtue of the fact that we were both computer science majors, the Greek was the unfortunate soul that was most frequently victimized by Hulkbeard's ravings. Most of the time, he simply shrugged those tirades off. Occasionally, he suggested that Hulkbeard go to me with his grievances instead of him. Naturally, this advice fell on deaf ears. Yeah, it's not about fixing the problem, it's about complaining about the problem. Hey, I never said Hulkbeard and I didn't have things in common. Swolman, too, regularly found himself as an unwilling audience to Hulkbeard's rants. Unlike the Greek, however, he had far less patience for it. As it turns out, he was hiding some steel beneath that passive exterior, and he had no tolerance for the games that Hulkbeard was trying to play. Eventually, he decided that he'd had enough. "I'm so sick of Hulkbeard's shit," Swolman told the Greek one day as they drove back from lunch. "All he ever does is complain about OP. I don't even know why he's friends with him." "Yeah, he's gotten kind of exhausting to be around, oh my god," the Greek admitted. "OP's been a lot angrier lately too. If it weren't for D&D and video game club, I think I'd be done with both of them, man." "I already am," Swolman replied. "I have better things to do than deal with this childish shit." "The game's still fun. Most of the time, man," the Greek said with a shrug. "Especially now that Hulkbeard's left. OP's okay when he's not upset about something too, I guess. Oh my god." "And when is that?" asked Swolman. "When isn't OP upset?" The Greek did not have an answer. Hulkbeard, for his part, knew only that Swolman and the Greek had been hanging out more frequently. Because this coincided with Swolman's decision to distance himself from this garbage barge of a train wreck, there was only one conclusion that made sense in his dew-addled mind. Dew-addled mind? Well, two conclusions, actually. One, Swolman was poisoning the Greek against Hulkbeard, and two, the Greek was sabotaging Swolman's friendship with Hulkbeard. Obviously, he couldn't be the problem, right? Well, as you might expect, Swolman and the Greek weren't the only people that Hulkbeard pissed and moaned at either. At one point, he attempted to complain at Thespian too. It didn't go well. Even the usually irreverent Thespian was getting fed up.
OP is being such a...
he began one day when the two of them were talking and waiting for class to start. "Shut the fuck up, Hulkbeard," Thespian replied, not even looking up from the game that he was playing. "OP's my friend. He's supposed to be yours too. Fucking act like it." I love this. People going to bat for OP. The truth is, if somebody's talking shit about friends behind their back, then they're probably talking shit about you behind your back as well. That's not even science. That's just like basic knowledge. But you can still go ahead and look it up if you want. Curiously, Hulkbeard never attempted to complain to Monksbane. In fact, he frequently tried to pretend that she simply didn't exist. I'm still not entirely sure why that is. Maybe he recognized that I was slowly spending more time with her than I was with him and didn't want to confront that fact. Could be because he thought less of her because she was a woman, or perhaps he feared her because he'd heard her stories about how she nearly lodged a pencil into the thigh of the last beard that had subjected her to his euphoria. Maybe all of the above, perhaps. Either way, by this point, between Thespian, Monksbane, and a few others who don't really have a direct role in this saga, I had a few regular counterbalances to Hulkbeard's attempt at manipulation. I was still a train wreck, obviously, but now I finally had genuine, supportive friends to help me be slightly less of a beard. Between my very gradual growth as a person and Swolman's abandonment, it was the beginning of the end for Hulkbeard. A slow spiral which would soon culminate in one final explosive tantrum. Man, you know I love to see a beard crash and burn, OP. It's been a long time coming, I'll tell you that much. I still think that OP is, self-flagellating a bit too much. You need to consider hindsight. I don't think that you can truly blame yourself for a lot of what happens. Sure, the personality kinda is sucky, but I don't know. I see a lot of parallels with my own life. At 22, like 18 to 22 in the Navy, I was just a menace, a complete fucking asshole. And it took me quite a while to mellow out and realize that I wasn't king shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thank you for your story. Definitely take it all with a grain of salt, I do not think that you are a villain. Maybe you are like somewhat of an anti-hero in this story, but that's okay, You're definitely laying all your cards on the table, and as I've said before, we gotta respect that. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I hope that you'll like, comment, and or subscribe. Maybe share the video around if you should like. That is a true MVP play. You might also check out the links we got in the description. Plugs, playlists, podcasts. Woo! There's a lot of stuff going on down there. And of course, my social medias, Twitter, Discord, Facebook. Yes, indeed. Come on through. Say hello. I'd appreciate it. We've also got my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons, aka the Jerry Army, over on Patreon. I'd like to thank them as I do every video, so thank you very much. Robert Waits, Baron Von Waggy Pants, Jarhead Jerry, Oorah, River Jerry, Relaxing, TSM Kirby, Aaron W, Twister Child, Delicious Jelly Donut, Cinnamon Susie, Fire Drake, Giggle Jerry, Hey Jerry, Livison, Mr. Anime Mag Fan Style Revolver, the Jerry Behind the Slaughter, Watch Out, Magdalene Marshall Thornrose, Captain Clown Jerry, Hong Kong, Cherish Kitsune, Jerry Satori, Little Lone Wolf, Vanilla Mel, Rouse Dower, Princess Jerry, as an accusation, Anunnaki, Asian Persuasion Jerry, Assassin Pug Mom, AXN Grizzly, yeah, that's a new one. Welcome to the fold. Bitch Gremlin, Commander J Tank. Oh, that's different. I know what the J stands for. Yeah, it's Jerry. Dinosaur Nightlight, Disposable Waifu, Aaron Lennox, Gypsy, Hadrian BR, Heathcliff, Hypno Jerry, not the Pokemon, but the Greek god. He gonna put you to sleep. A pimp named J Crisp, JM Coon, Jerry with an I. That's a different Jerry for sure. The original Jerry. Jerry! Shot Hero. Simbufa, because if you boof it is free. Miss Monday, Lexi Loves Jojo, Lord Lionel, Jack's Rule, Melgar the Destroyer, Mint Chip, Mirthful Baker, Mr. Jerry, probably the only time I'll read his subtitle right now. Son of ReddX's uncle's mom's cousin's roommate's third grade teacher's sister, who is also named Jerry. You just broke the website with your long name. That's beautiful. My boy Nat One Nick Natari, Lady Nick's Nightmare Jerry, Spooky, Origami Jerry, Gotta Fold 'em All, Phantom of the Pines, Katikins Elizabeth, Sidestep, Rosemary Miller, Cider Drinker, Serrated Ass Staples, Yeet, Stephanie Goodner, Synaptic Broomstick, Brilliant Tamago, Tapioca Boogaloo, Tato Ferret, 10-Ton Monster, Dead Duck Bug, The One True Fusky, The Better Marble Jerry, uh-oh, I sense a rivalry. Treeberg, Wilmax, yet another different Jerry. Zero Blacktail, Kira M, Kitzikin, Redwin, Goose Says Honk, Naga Viper, Saints Blessing, John Indoors, 211, Jerry, a normal Jerry, and a different Jerry. I love a normal Jerry. I can't even say it. What's happening? A normal Jerry and a different Jerry, right next to each other. No matter how different the Jerrys are, they can all get along. Amara, A-Roxer's Banished Knight, Barbushka's Irradiated Jerry! Cake Jerry, the original different Jerry! California Jerry Girl, Carrot Jerry! God damn, there's 4 in a row! Also, Carrot Jerry's a new one. Welcome to the fold. 4 in a row is the new high score. Check it out now. Chris Meska, Cinnamon Bunny Dog, Crip Jerry's, Cuban Jerry, Defon Jerry, Ghost of Alpha, and Jerry Bean. Jerry Bean is like Jelly Bean, but different. Love it. KJW Kajow, Crafty Kitty Cat, Lapichi Jerry, Life of a Guardian, Little Ann Woods. Maybe next time, Midnight Sun, welcome to the fold. Milkfed Gimp, Miss Duchess, Organic Cam, Princess Rosalie Jerry. Oh, she got married. Congratulations, you marry a Jerry. Ghosty, Ryga, Raptor, Spoonie the Rogue, Steampunk Ellie, the Necro Jerry Con, the original Jerry, who's not the original Jerry. Token Black Jerry, and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. Promise. Swearsies, it's just a fact. It's beautiful. Thank you guys all so much for supporting on the Patreon in the way that you do. I am humbled beyond belief. I do hope some other people will consider signing up, but if you can't do it right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you coming on through, hanging out with me, and I hope you'll come on back and hang out with me again tomorrow. In order to do so, you need to keep yourself safe out there. Wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today. Maybe like watching some more ReddX videos. I hope. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. I shall see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.